more like I can tackle the day and less like, oh my god, I have so many things to do today. How am I going to get them all done? Okay. Hi everyone. Welcome back to this week's video. I am going to be very honest and say that this was not the original video I intended to post this week. Some things happened behind the scenes that I needed to take care of mentally. My childhood cat that I've had since I was about 10 years old unfortunately passed away. I was dealing with that, so the original video I had planned, which was going to take me multiple days to film incomplete, is going to be next week's, or in 2 weeks, my next video. So, for this one, I thought we could just have a more chill talk video, because I feel like I've been saying this in every video, but a lot has happened, and it's because a lot happens every day for me, mentally. I don't always remember what I've shared with all of you. I do sometimes feel like I'm just repeating myself, but I have had a lot of mental push throughs, I guess is the best way to put it, since the beginning of the year. Well, really, it started back in August of last year, and most of this has been personal behind the scenes stuff, hence why it's kind of been a sparse thing that I've been talking about here and there. The biggest thing that's happened for me is been really sitting with a lot of the things that happened when I was a teenager, specifically after I got my cancer diagnosis. Remembering things, realizing how I felt about certain situations, and just a lot of mental stress. We are working on getting a therapist because this clearly needs to be talked about and brought up. There are some things I've been doing in the in between time to try and help with that. And one of the biggest things that have been the most helpful is getting back into my hobbies. This is something I have not intentionally or actively done in a very long time. At least how it feels right now is the biggest reason why is because I have grown up in a small town where the only way for you to leave is to get a job somewhere specific or have enough money to get out. That's not actually true, but it's what I was told and believed my entire life. And that included things like monetizing your hobbies. And this happens to me a lot when I share things that I've made. Like when I first got into crocheting and I started making things for the people in my life, a lot of them, their immediate reaction was that I should make a business out of it. That always made me feel a little. Finn is scratching up at the bed. Are you okay, honey? You warm? It's a bit cold these last few days, so instead of being in his spot here, where he normally is, he likes to dig up at my covers where I've made my bed so he can bury himself under the covers so he can be warm. So that's what he's done. Back to the story. Yeah, I would share the presents or the things that I've made for people, and their immediate reaction is that I need to make money off of it. And that never quite sat right with me. Not the making things for a living. I've always liked making things for a living. I mean, I make videos, I make crochet videos, so that part's okay. The thing that didn't sit right with me was that that was their immediate reaction. Not to talk about the thing that I made or to talk about how I made it or anything like that. It was just, you are talented at this thing, so clearly you need to make money off of said talent. And I never liked that. I think that you should have hobbies and activities that you enjoy that are just for you, that aren't to be made money off of, that just simply bring you joy. But again, the town that I've grown up in, that's not a thing in their minds. And so this is a very new discovery for me that I can just do things that make me happy and I don't have to share them with anybody. I don't have to do anything with them. They can just be for me because they make me happy. That being said, the hobbies I'm going to share in this video, some of them are ones that I don't mind bringing up. There are definitely hobbies that I'm not going to talk about in this video that truly are just for me. Again, that's for my own mental sake of that they are for me. Maybe I'll share them one day in the future, but for now, they're just for me. Yeah, the hobbies I'm going to share with you today are ones that are more kind of here as like a nice suggestion if you're somebody who's been looking into getting into hobbies or just wanting to try some new ones, because they've also been really nice to like reconnect with my inner child, because a lot of the hobbies are things that I really liked to do or adjacent to things I really liked to do when I was a kid. And so it lets me kind of bring that out again in a space, in an environment that doesn't feel like there's so much pressure on it. Because that was another thing. When I had my hobbies that I liked, that I was good at, not only was it expected to make money off of it, at least as a kid, I had a lot of adults trying to figure out a way to make it my career and really like capitalism, like mindset off of it, when I just wanted to write to have fun because I liked writing my stories. There's also been a lot of that sort of trauma of, if you're really good at this, you need to make this your entire personality, and therefore it needs to be like a really intense thing. I've also been very inspired by Alyssa Liu, the gold medal figure skater from this year. Maybe this is from coming in the dance world. I know that there's a lot of, at least in the performance side of it, a lot of superstitions. I didn't know about the figure skating ones, but like the fact that she wore a gold dress, or that she had a more alternative style, and all these superstitions that she wasn't supposed to do, she did anyways, and then she won despite going against all of them. And even the fact that she won and she didn't, like, the main thing that she was proud of was the fact that she got back to the Olympics in the first place on her own terms. Whether she won or got last place, she really didn't care. It was the fact that she got to be there at all. And I really like that. I like that the things that I can both make money off of, or are just for me, or whatever they are, I get to set the terms of what that is. It's not what other people say, it's what I say, which also has really helped, because I definitely also had adults around me that put a lot of that perfectionism pressure on me, that when I was good at something, I had to be like all in, and I had to do it exactly the way that they wanted, at the most perfect optimized optical like version of it. I couldn't just be like my wacky self and still get the thing done. It had to be done in a very streamlined way, which I've always hated. So that's also something I've been working on, is to not do things so intensely and just do them the way that I want to, and recognize some of the rules that I believe I have to follow that actually aren't real, and I can kind of just do them however I want, even if that's chaotic, which I love chaos and I embrace it, but it's always the getting there and the starting the chaos that I get that little like voice in the back of my head like, you shouldn't be doing this. It's like, yes, I can. You can't stop me. Without further ado, let's talk about the actual hobbies. We'll start with one that you guys see all the time, which is crocheting. And I'm going to kind of loop in just clothing modification and dress up and all of that stuff into one, because this is something I've done since I was a kid. A very common theme you're gonna see. Obviously, crocheting and stuff was not something I did, but cutting up t shirts to make outfits, or making my shorts an appropriate length for school out of an old pair of jeans, and upcycling, even though that's not what I called it then, or modifying dance costumes and that sort of stuff. I've loved dress up and those girly, fun little things. This is something that pops up a lot for me, but that, like, more feminine version of myself that loves pink and glitter and dresses and wearing makeup, and that side of me always got really bullied and ostracized, because nobody thought that that's the version of me I should be, or that version of me should only exist when I'm a kid. I can't be that as an adult and still have like the opinions and the values that I still do. And that's not true. I can be whatever version of me that I want. So if I want to be a whimsical, chaotic, fairy magical princess that doesn't take any bullshit and will call you out when you piss me off, I can be that. and you can't stop me. So yeah. It's very funny that I've gotten all of that from yarn. It's very important yarn. Also, I'm very lucky that I have Martins. If you live in Maine, definitely, and you're a fiber artist or just somebody who needs like fabric and stuff in general, make sure you go look at Martins. I just picked up this yarn for $3.99 the other day, and I think you can see them in the shot. If not, then oops. But I have two huge balls of yarn behind me to make another project that I got same day that were $5.99 each, which I got a very similar amount of yarn at Michael's for about $12 for one ball or skein of yarn. So, yeah, make sure you go look at Martin's if you're in Maine and you're a fiber artist because they got some good deals. Another one for me has been reading. This is a book that I finished recently. It's Wings of Starlight, which is a book about Queen Clarion and Lord Mallory from the Tinkerbell Pixie Hollow series, which was one of my favorite series as a kid. And they are coming out with one for Periwinkle later this year, which I'm 100% buying and getting because, like I said, I enjoy being a little fairy and reading my fairy books. Look at Lord Mallory, by the way. Very handsome. But reading has definitely been a really nice thing for me, like sensory wise, at the end of the day, or just like in between work and stuff. Instead of going on my phone and scrolling on TikTok, having a lot of like sensory input, I can just read my book and just have that low stimulating activity. It's been very helpful, especially in this very anxious new time for me, to feel like I can just ground myself and just be present with my book. So that has been very helpful. So if you need a hobby that lets you feel a little bit more present without like getting, because meditating is still very difficult for me, like sitting with my thoughts kind of deal. Reading gives me something similar that will probably get me down the path to that point, but for right now, reading is really helpful. So definitely do that. Another thing that I've been doing is journaling. This is like my fourth or fifth journal. I recently reread like my first couple of journals, and it's very interesting to see how I wrote then versus how I write now. Because when I first started, it was maybe 2022, something like that. I started doing it because of The Artist Way, which is a book for anybody who feels kind of stuck or unmotivated in their art in any way, or just want to be more creative in general. It's a great book, and I highly recommend that you follow it if you are in that sort of situation. And in it, there is a thing called morning pages, where you basically wake up, grab a book, and write 3 pages immediately the minute you wake up. Now, I don't do it that intensely anymore because I'm not strictly following the book, but I do really like writing about 3 pages a day because it helps me get my thoughts out. When I first started doing it, I definitely, it's very interesting to read because there was a very clear shift again back in August of last year, where before my thoughts were always very like analytical of this is what I have to do today. So I'm going to do it in this order at this time, and I'm going to try and get these things done, and maybe this if I have the time. Okay, bye. And that was the entry. But now they are much more about my actual emotions and feelings, which has been really helpful for me to get them written down on paper. And that's definitely something that's been helping during this in between while I'm still getting a therapist for myself to actually write this down. I did do therapy when I was a kid, which was an entire situation because the reason I went to see this therapist as a kid was not because of the amounts of trauma and depression that I was exhibiting at the time. It was because my pediatrician was convinced that I was not sick whatsoever, and my mom was potentially doing something like Munchausen by proxy and trying to make me sick. And the therapist talked to me for about, I think we saw each other for about 3 months. And after those 3 months, she's like, no, She's just like an anxious kid who's been through a lot, but she's fine. Nothing like that is happening. Why would you think that? Which thankfully was helpful because it made her back off of after that. Still didn't help me. Still had to scream at her to get a simple blood test done, but she stopped trying to accuse my mom of being a bad mom when she wasn't being a bad mom. So there was help in that, but also not helpful because I was clearly very depressed and sad and literally couldn't remember what I did the day before, let alone recall things that were happening. Like, clearly, I was not okay. So, why this therapist thought that I was, I will never know. But a big thing I do remember her telling me was if you're having memory problems, to write it down in a journal. So, at the very least, when I go to see her, we could actually talk about it. That's something I've been trying to prioritize in this in between, is making sure that I'm writing down my feelings so that when I do see my therapist, we have things to talk about that are productive and helpful to me because I also have memory issues. So that's important. This is a brand new addition. I recently got myself a Nintendo Switch Lite. This has been very fun for me to just have a silly little game that I play that's just fun for me. I've been playing Hello Kitty Island Adventure mainly, and it's just been fun to go in and think about something else and see the silly things that happen and open and unlock new areas and just kind of explore in that way. It's just something that lets me kind of get out of my own head and is, again, similarly helpful to reading, but where reading helps me feel more centered, the video games help me feel more like, helps me when, how do I explain this? Basically, when I get really anxious, I will have the normal, like, up, really anxious, and then come back down. But instead of coming back down to a baseline of not feeling really anxious anymore, I end up staying just like a little bit above it. And I feel like consistently anxious no matter what I do. And the only way I've found, at least right now, that helps is finding a distraction to help me remove myself from the situation so that once I've processed the emotions and felt those emotions, I can then separate myself so I can then think about why I felt the way that I felt and what kind of seemed to have popped up. The game has been very helpful for that, to have that separation for me. I've also had some other arts and crafts hobbies, again, very similar to fashion hobbies that I've been getting back into, just wanting to give the old things that I used to love a try again to see if I still really like doing them or if they're just something that I've outgrown or maybe physically can't do anymore, and that sort of stuff. The last one I wanted to talk about was working out. I don't really have a visual like I've had for the last of them, but exercise, again, has been very helpful. It's also very exciting because it's now spring, which means things are going to be warming up, which means I can go for walks outside. I love walks outside. Sort of finding different physical movement that has been really helpful, especially in the morning, because for some reason when I first wake up, I'm very anxious. That's a different one. I need to figure out why, but another day. After I go through my morning routine, I've journaled getting up and moving my body in some way, whether it's dancing around to music, more physical workout, just stretching, doing yoga, something that more or less moves the energy in my body and my physical body itself really helps me feel more like I can tackle the day and less like, oh my god, I have so many things to do today. How am I going to get them all done? It's just like 30 minutes in the morning to focus on me and my health and doing something just to make me feel good lets me feel like I am more capable of tackling my day ahead. All the things about working out being good for you they were right. I think that's it for me. At least those are all the hobbies I wanted to talk about. This last 3 months, the first 3 months of the year, have been quite heavy for me. So I am hoping that the next 3 months, since they include my birthday and my cancer anniversary in June, I really hope they're a little bit lighter so we can just be happy and celebrate during this time and we can just have some fun, happy videos. So, thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe. It really helps me out. Leave a comment about any hobbies that you've been doing or any you want to see me try on camera maybe, because I'd be down to see about that. On screen now are my social media handles if you'd like to see more day-to-day things that I get up to. And with that, I will see you in 2 weeks for my brand new video.